Yogis and yoginis, Ashley Josephine here. Today I'm really excited to share with you a video about how to step forward into a lunge to prepare for some of your standing poses. So I know a lot of my clients and students struggle with this particular transition, and there's always ways to modify the transition or customize it so that it ends up working for you. But if you're interested in really learning how to step forward from downward facing dog into a low lunge, and it's something that you struggle with, I want to share a perspective with you and a couple things that you can do and really focus on to help you build the strength and flexibility to help you step forward into a low lunge. So first thing first, let me show you what I'm talking about in case you're not sure. But you'll see this a lot in vinyasa style classes or flow style classes, moving from downward facing dog. And then maybe somebody says, inhale, lift your right leg high, exhale, step forward into a low lunge. And it's getting that foot in between your hands that can be such a struggle for so many people. What I often see is inhale, reach your right leg high, exhale, step forward, and somebody's foot comes to about here, and maybe that's you, and you struggle and struggle and struggle, and you just can't figure out, well, how do I get that extra foot or so to get my foot all the way up in between my hands? So I was working with one of my clients on this and explaining the entire process to her, and she came up with this visualization which I just love, and it makes a whole lot of sense. If you think of a train, the wheel of a train, and how it has that bar across it, when the wheel is cycling through, that bar is going up, down, and around. It's making kind of like a rectangular / circular motion within this wheel. And we want to think about the transition from downward facing dog into a low lunge in that kind of cyclical / rectangular motion. So watch again for a moment as I demonstrate this. As I move from downward facing dog and lift my right leg up towards the ceiling, if I just pull the foot forward in between my hands, for me, that's about as far forward as my foot is going to actually land on the mat. I think some people mistakenly believe, and maybe teachers were not doing a good enough job cueing, that it's not just stepping your foot forward in between your hands. There's a whole forward motion that's happening with the entire body to get your foot in between the hands. It's not just the leg. The chest is moving forward. The entire body, all the energy is moving forward to get your foot there. So inhale, reach the right leg forward, step your foot. If it's just the leg, that's how far you're going to get. But if you start to stack the shoulders forward and then pull the knee in, and I'm even like lifting up onto the toes of my back foot, everything is moving forward, and that's that cyclical motion of the train wheel that you can think about to get that foot in between your hands, right? So it's not just foot forward, it's foot comes in, you're moving forward with the entire body, and there's also this last piece of almost pressing into the ground, hollowing out the belly so that there's space to pull the leg forward for that last piece, where then you step the foot forward, and my weight even shifts a little bit over onto the opposite side so that I've got that space to step the foot forward. So with that perspective, even just that might be enough to change how you're approaching your step forwards, using your entire body, feeling this forward energy, this forward motion, bringing you into your low lunge. Try it out in your practice. I hope that perspective will really help you. So then the other two things that we have to look at physically when we're trying to achieve stepping forward in between our hands is going to be the core strength. Remember I said we're hollowing out the belly, but also the psoas. So the psoas, the hip flexor muscles, lots of different muscles in here that help us flex the foot and draw that knee in. That's really, really tight, which it is on many people. Then it's going to be hard for us to draw that leg in as far as we want to or need to step the foot all the way forward. So I'm going to show you two exercises that you can do to help you prepare for this step forward. You've most likely seen the first one and done it many times if you've been in my classes before. We do this all the time. And the second one is one of my favorites for stretching out the front side of the body. For that one, you will need a block or a big dictionary or book or something like that to sit your hips on. So first, let's go into our tabletop spinal balancing. So if you come to your hands and your knees, I'll do the other side here just so that I can balance things out on my own body. I'm going to reach my right arm forward and my left leg back. So this is spinal balancing. You might just stay here and work on your balance to get your core strength and your core stabilizers up and firing. But then, oftentimes we do the crunch, we get into the core, and you round the spine like a cat pose and try and pull your elbow in towards your knee. Now, not only does this challenge your core stabilizer muscles, but it's also helping you to find some of that hollowing out, creating that space to draw the knee in, and that's the exact same thing that we're doing from downward facing dog as we lift the leg up and draw the knee in to step it through. So practicing this is a really great practice to help you pull that knee in as far as you can. Now think about that forward motion, right? The back side of the body is drawing forward as much as you can energetically while this arm draws back. And the more you're able to pull the elbow past the knee, the more you're really going to start to access these muscles and feel that hollowing out. The more you round your spine, the more space you give to hollow out the belly and pull the knee in as far as you can. That's going to strengthen the hip flexor muscles, the core, and give you that feeling of stepping forward, and that motion that needs to happen in the torso when you go into that step forward. You can also try from down dog, just pulling your knee in towards your nose, right? So downward facing dog, lift the left leg high, pull the knee in towards the nose. The closer you can hug the knee in towards the body, the more you're going to work into hugging the core up. And the more from there, you'll be able to step that foot forward in between your hands. So that's something to work on in your practice or add into your practice if you're trying to step forward into a low lunge. And then the other thing I want to show you is a stretch for the hip flexors from bridge. So if you lie down onto your back, have your block handy. We're going to use it. We'll do a supported bridge. Place the soles of your feet right underneath your knees and toes point straight forward. Inhale, lift the hips up towards the ceiling, and then you'll take your block and place it underneath your hips. If you do supported bridge often, I recommend you take the block one level lower than you normally go, because from here, we're going to straighten out the right leg. And when you straighten the right leg out, you might feel a big stretch on the hip flexor. And you can either stay here and just do this one leg at a time, depending on the type of sensation or the level of sensation that you're getting in your hip flexor. Or you can straighten the other leg out too. And gravity is just kind of pressing down on the thighs and allowing you to have the legs in extension, both at the same time, which we don't often get in a passive stretch. This is really nice to open up the front side of the body right here. Just have to be careful with your back. Make sure that your tailbone is still moving downward so that there's still length in the lower back and you're not crunched up. And you might have to play with the height of the block as well, maybe lower it down a level or so. So staying here for 10 breaths, a couple minutes, is really, really nice. And if you're not feeling anything at all and your low back is okay, you might also try and take the block up another level. This is going to help you stretch out the front side of the body here and give you a little more flexibility so you can work on your strength and all those other exercises that we just went through to help you step forward. To get out of this, bring the sole of one foot to the ground and then the other foot. Press down into the feet, draw the tailbone towards the knees, lift the hips up off the block. Remove the block out to the side and slowly lower one vertebra at a time, taking care of the spine. And I always like to end with a Supta Baddha Konasana after bridge, bringing the soles of the feet together, the knees wide. This is a nice way to neutralize the spine. Take a big breath in and a big breath out. And then you can roll on forward and move on with the rest of your practice, the rest of your day. So, I hope that you, again, think about this perspective, this train wheel, this forward motion. One of my teachers has shared with me before how the idea of stepping forward is really important in our practice, and that we should step forward as much as we can. And not just in our practice, but also in our life. We should be looking how to step forward, not how to hold ourselves back. And sometimes we are psychologically, unconsciously holding ourselves back, and it shows up in our body and in our practice, in our inability to step forward on the mat, in the tightness that shows up in our hip flexors, or the numbness that shows up in our core and our inability to feel and work these parts of our body. So I want you to practice this. I wish you the best of luck. As always, please let me know if you have any questions or feedback. I'd love to answer them for you, and I hope that you find some new success in stepping forward into your low lunge. Keep practicing. It probably won't happen overnight, but I promise that if you keep it up and you keep that mindset of stepping forward and moving forward, you'll find great success. My name is Ashley Josephine, and I look forward to seeing you on or off the mat again soon. Namaste.